evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the May 3rd, 2017 meeting of the Frederick County Planning Commission. Would you join us in a moment of silence, please? Thank you. We have some minutes from April the 5th. Are there any corrections?
Move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. On to committee reports. We have one from the Transportation Committee.
Yes, ma'am, we met April 24th. I had 4 items on the agenda. The first was Security Drive out by Navy Federal. A portion of that road is going to be taken out of the state system and become private. The second item was Hood Way, and actually, same thing. We have a state road that goes back to the plant, and they're requesting that road be abandoned and returned to private so they can widen it out and have places for tractor trailers to stack. There's discussion about reducing the speed limit on Route 50, changes from 35 to 45 and then eventually 55. There was no VDOT weighed in. Basically, they've done a study. There's no justification for lowering the speed limit through there. Basically, it was a request because people coming out of the Lutheran home making a right, the traffic was coming pretty fast at them. And then the fourth item was just an update of the county projects. And Stonebridge Boulevard should be open, I believe, by the end of May, but I heard the same thing about April.
Thank you very much. Let's see, I believe that if Mr. Dunn would report for the board, that's the only report we've got left.
Madam Chairman, last time the Board of Supervisors met 2 weeks ago, they approved an outdoor festival permit for Opakam Presbyterian Church on Saturday, May 20th. They approved a 99-year lease on the Clouser House. And then they had 2 further public hearings and approvals. One was a conditional use permit, 317 for Kelly and Robert Luckett for a daycare facility in Redbud. They also approved permit number 417 for Tricia Shanholz for a daycare as well in Opakam.
Right.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I was informed that we need to go back and adopt our agenda.
Yeah.
It's not my idea.
My word. My word.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. I need all the help. And I think I left Mr. Unger out of his,
We do it?
yeah.
Okay. Our DRRC met April 27th, and we had 3 items on our agenda. We had a request to allow zoning administration to waive or reduce the modification for separation of buffers for similar or dissimilar type housing. We had a discussion on it, and these items are scheduled to go back to us in later May for further discussion. And additionally, we had a committee discussion about requests to allow waiver for recreational facility units and development of RP. What they wanted to do was not have to put recreation in. I think it was less than 25 or 30 units. DRRS did not support that ordinance amendment, so we kind of left it at that. And finally, the committee discussed a request to allow slaughterhouse in the RA district and had some discussion on it, and that was supported, and it will come to Planning Commission on June 7th.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's everybody. Thank you. We get now to the citizen comment portion of our agenda. And if there's any citizen who would like to address us on any subject, we'd be glad to hear you. Seeing none, we will close the citizen comment portion. We have 2 public hearings. The first is an ordinance, and we've got a good a description of it up on the chart, which you can take a peek at, but it really is dealing with Article 1, general provisions, amendments and conditional use permits, Article 2, supplementary use regulations, parking buffers and regulations for specific uses, and Article 4, agricultural and residential districts. This is to amend permitted and conditional uses, supplemental regulations, and definition of new uses in the RA zoning district. Other details are further described in the public hearing advertisement. So, Mr. Klein.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. This is a proposed amendment to Chapter 165 of the zoning ordinance to allow additional by right and conditional uses in the RA rural areas zoning district. This is an effort to expand and clarify opportunities available for small businesses and agritourism activities in the rural areas. This effort is supportive of the goals and strategies expressed in the 2035 Comprehensive Plan for the county's rural areas and for agribusiness development. Staff has drafted an amendment to the rural areas zoning district to include additional permitted uses, including agritourism, commercial stables and equestrian facilities, cut-your-own-tree farms, on-premise wayside stands that are accessory to a bona fide farm. And we've also included additional conditional uses, including farm stays, special event facilities, commercial archery ranges, ice cream parlors, bakeries, and craft and gift shops. Staff has also drafted supplementary use regulations that would apply to the special event centers, as well as new definitions for all uses that were included. The Development Review and Regulations Committee discussed this amendment at their January and February 2017 meetings, and the DRRC agreed with the proposed changes. The Planning Commission discussed this item on March the 15th, and the Board of Supervisors discussed this item on April 12th. Both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors were supportive of the changes that were included for discussion. Following a public hearing this evening, staff is seeking a recommendation from the Planning Commission to forward this item to the Board of Supervisors for action. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Right. Questions of Mr. Klein? Yes. Mr. Oates?
Really not a question, but just a point of clarification. I did have someone ask me about the archery and outdoor shooting. That is just adding archery to commercial outdoor shooting. It's not for private. It's strictly a commercial business that would be under a CUP, correct?
You are correct. Commercial outdoor shooting ranges are already permitted through a conditional use permit in the rural areas zoning district. This is just adding commercial archery ranges, which are very similar to the use list.
But it doesn't apply at all to private.
It does not apply to private individuals who choose to shoot or do archery activities on their property.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address us concerning this conditional use permit? Anyone at all? Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion. Our next item is also a public hearing item. Excuse me. What have I done now?
We need to vote.
Take action.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that we recommend approval of. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. May I go to the next item? Thank you. This is also a public hearing item. It's an ordinance amendment to the Frederick County Code, Chapter 165 zoning, Article 4 agricultural and residential districts, Part 401 RA rural areas districts, 165-401-07 setback requirements. And these are revisions to the ordinance on the front setback for accessory uses on private rights of way in the rural areas district. Mr. Klein.
Yes, good evening again. This is the second of two ordinance amendments that you all are considering for public hearing this evening. This is a proposed amendment to Chapter 165 of the zoning ordinance to reduce the front setback for accessory structures and uses in the RA rural areas district. Staff has drafted an amendment to the RA zoning district to reduce the required front setback for accessory uses and structures where adjacent to private rights of way from 60 feet, which is currently permitted, to 45 feet. And this amendment was brought forward by the committee member of the Development Review and Regulations Committee. Here's a graphic that illustrates the current ordinance. You can see that both the private structure and the accessory structure must both meet a 60-foot building restriction line, or BRL, from the private right-of-way. The proposed ordinance amendment would maintain that the principal structure continue to be set back at 60 feet from the private right-of-way, but it would allow accessory structures and uses such as a shed or an outbuilding or a detached garage to be set back 45 feet from the private right-of-way. The Development Review and Regulations Committee discussed this amendment at their February meeting, and the DRRC agreed with the proposed changes. The Planning Commission discussed this item on March the 15th, and the Board of Supervisors discussed this item on April the 12th. Both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors were supportive of the amendment as proposed. Following a public hearing this evening, staff is seeking a recommendation from the Planning Commission to forward this item to the Board of Supervisors for further consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Klein? Yes.
Was there something that prompted this amendment?
During our Development Review and Regulations Committee meeting, we take requests for ordinance changes from applicants, staff, or a member of the committee. This item was initiated by a member of the committee. It seeks to provide some relief to allow people to locate structures closer to a private right-of-way, which doesn't require as for much of a setback as you'd get on a on a public road.
Any other questions? Yes. Mr. Unger?
Mr., where are we measuring 45 from the center line or from the edge of the right-of-way?
Measuring from center line,
From center line? Okay.
which
No.
Let me just clarify that. The measurement of the front setback comes from the edge of the right-of-way?
That's what I figured.
in some cases, the edge of the right, it's also the center line, so, yeah, we're good.
Anything else?
How could the edge be the center line?
It's from the,
We won't add any to confusion, we'll just, for the sake of discussion, it's from the edge of the right-of-way.
Of the right-of-way or easement. So even if the property goes to the center line of the state road, there's a 30-foot prescriptive easement, so it's 15 foot over, then,
Another 45.
well, in this case, 60, because it'd be a state road, but if it was private, it'd be from the easement line.
It only applies to private right-of-ways.
And this request only would apply to private right-of-way, so in cases where they were fronted on a public roadway, they would still need to maintain a 60-foot setback for both principal and accessory structures.
Everybody okay? All righty, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak regarding this item? Anyone at all? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. Any comments, discussion, thoughts?
Madam Chair, I'd like to approve this and send this to supervisors.
Second?
Second? Yep. Ready? Any other comments? Mr. Moan?
Moan, yes.
Dunlap, yes.
Triplett, yes.
Kenny, yes.
Thomas, yes.
Votes yes.
Klein, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
And the chair votes yes. This will go to the Board of Supervisors on the 24th. Both of these will go on the 24th. We have come to the end of what our agenda is. I will advise you that we have no agenda for May the 17th, so we will need to,
Move we cancel it.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Very swell. Anything
Move for
else?
adjournment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
15 minutes.